Greetings, music lovers. Welcome to another episode of the Raaga Room with Deepa Joshi. From time immemorial, music has traveled continents, leading to cultural connections and innovations, giving the art and the artists opportunity to learn, explore, create new forms of music. When two major forms of music, Indian classical music and Western music, come together, wouldn't that lead to a vast arena of melody? Hindustani music predominantly has been the cultural communicator of Indian classical music with the West. Indian classical music exploded in the West in the 1960s. Certain factors that could have led to that would be the aesthetic of this music that made it more accessible on a global platform. The greats like Pandit Ravi Shankar popularized Indian music in the West that went on to several innovations and collaborations. Carnatic classical is one of the oldest, established and structured forms of music. Although it took a while for Carnatic music to cross borders, in the last 3 decades, Carnatic music has become a global art music form. Over the last few years, Carnatic music has begun making a mark in the international music community, Cleveland Aradhana Festival being a classical example. Cultural connections, influence of Western music on Indian music and vice versa, an amalgamation of two established styles of music, what happens when they come together, and an innovation of an instrument that brings out the best of both music. Intrigued, isn't it? One such artist is here with us today, Vishnu R Prasad. Vishnu is a guitarist, composer, and an inventor, known for his strikingly original music with Vishnu R Collective. He is the inventor of the instrument Navtar, an artist that epitomizes the saying, "Passion is a driving force behind innovation." Without further ado, let's meet Vishnu. Vishnu R is a guitarist, composer, inventor, and patent holder of Navtar, the only instrument in the world highlighting the finest nuances of Indian classical and Western harmonic music. Vishnu's command over Carnatic and Western traditions has gained him international attention with performances and workshops across India, Europe, and USA. He is a Grade 8 distinction holder and currently pursues a fellowship in Western classical guitar performance from the Trinity College of London. Vishnu has performed alongside distinguished artists like Padma Vibhushan Umayalapuram Shivaraman, Padma Shri A. Kanyakumari, Guitar Prasanna, Singer Srinivas, Singer Karthik, Vijay Prakash, and international artists like Dennis Stern from Russia, Yuli Gaza, and Lucas Gaza from Switzerland, Steve Zerlin, Pascal Loverne, Eamon Bujilda, only to name a few. Vishnu has been awarded the Karnataka Rajyotsava Yuva Prashasti Award and Pogo Amazing Musician Award in 2010 for his efforts. Vishnu has also played guitar for many Indian films and albums. He has given lectures and talks in prestigious forums such as CII, Confederation of Indian Industry, India Innovations Summit, and Indian Music Experience. Without further ado, let's talk to Vishnu at the Raaga Room. Hi, Vishnu. Welcome to the Raaga Room. So happy to have you here.
Pleasure, Deepaji, to be on your show.
Pleasure's mine entirely. Vishnu, you bring so much of versatility into music Western classical, Carnatic classical, name it, and you're the master of it. So tell us about your journey into music, how it all started.
So, my journey has been one of coming home, back to roots, so to speak. Guitar being my primary instrument, Western classical music has been the bedrock of my musical foundation. And I've gone on to explore various other genres such as rock, jazz, contemporary world music. And each of these genres have offered such a unique perspective and insight into Indian classical music, Carnatic music, which is now my central genre of exposition. So each of these genres have a very special place in my heart, and I think deserve nothing short of excellence. I remember waking up and practicing Bach violin partitas, then
Ah,
going on to learning and practicing with my father, Tyagaraja or Muthuswami Dikshitar Kriti. And later during the day, I would transcribe a John Coltrane saxophone solo, and later maybe have a Kanjira class or a Laya class with my guru Sri B.S. Purushottam. So it's been a really diverse set of influences that have shaped me as a musician. And I feel it is so important in today's world to be a versatile artist. I think versatility
exactly.
is so critical in being able to help an artist blend in various contexts and situations. And that really, I think, is critical for the survival or success of an artist in today's world. And for me personally, I mean, coming from a family of artists, professional artists, I've been fortunate to have the supportive and an unrestrictive space for my thought processes and exploration of music with the guidance of eminent teachers such as my own father and guru, Vidwan Shri T.V. Ram Prasad. He's been teaching me since before I was able to form coherent sentences. Then Neil Mukherjee, he sowed the seeds of guitar and guitar inspiration for me. John Anthony, who I learned the discipline and rigor from. He used to wake me up at 4:30 every morning, and we would practice 8 hours straight.
Wow,
then
really?
then Guitar Prasanna has always been a mentor and a friend, always giving me radical insights into guitar playing and music. Dennis Stern from Russia and Italy, and he's also really molded my Western classical and jazz playing to a quite an advanced level. So all of these teachers have had such a diverse influence on me, and but yet they all have one common thing about all of them. All of them emphasize on the importance of finding one's unique sound or one's own unique voice within the traditional framework. And I think that is so important. It is the central driving force behind my music, and it has helped me communicate and collaborate with musicians world over in understanding their music, having for translating Indian nuances to Western audiences, translating Western nuances to Indian audiences, and it's been a very very enriching process, definitely. And more than anything, I think it has opened my eyes to the fact that um, music is definitely truly universal, and it is beyond categorization and nomenclature, so to speak, and nothing but an expression of sound in space.
Wow. Um, Again, a lot of nice things being said here. Going back to you saying that music is universal, I mean, across world, across universe, seven notes remain the same.
Yeah.
You also brought an interesting point about having your own voice to identify what is integral to you. And then being versatility as one of your traits. I think even for someone to be versatile, you need to have a lot of creativity and you need to have a lot of openness, which I think came from the background that you came. you were exposed to different kinds of different genres of music. You were interested, you had the ability to explore and understand and get into it further. And Carnatic music, through your family, through your father, your guru, was the soul string which kept it all together. So
Definitely.
you had something that was very fundamental, and with that you went on to try different things. So that is really phenomenal. We've also heard that you graduated from the Trinity College of London
Yeah, I've
with a
cleared
distinction.
the distinction. They have many grades, and the grade 8 is the highest, following which they have fellowships and licentiate programs. So, yes, I'm working on my fellowship at the Trinity College of London right now for Western classical guitar
Wonderful.
performance.
It's often said that the convergence of jazz, Hindustani music is apparent. Could have been due to several cultural contributions by the greats like Pandit Ravi Shankar and the improv form of the aesthetic of Hindustani music. Carnatic music, though, took a while to cross borders. But when you started working on fusing Carnatic music and jazz, how was it? What were your what were the things that brought it together, and how did you continue to explore this form of music?
I think it is important to understand first that both Hindustani classical as well as Carnatic music, they all both fall under the umbrella of Indian classical music, and they have striking similarities in the sense that they are both monophonic or single shruti based music. They are based in ragas, they have gamakas. Both actually focus greatly and equally on aesthetic and improvisation. And definitely, I think the large part of the success or popularity of Hindustani music was because of the early penetration of masters like Pandit Ravi Shankar. His collaboration with the Beatles is pretty well known. The Woodstock Festival performance. Then later, of course, Ali Akbar Khan Sahab, and later Hariprasad Chaurasia with Shakti. That was quite an amazing collaboration. Shakti also brought in some phenomenal other Carnatic musicians like L. Shankar, U. Srinivas.
Correct.
So Shakti really opened the doors of Carnatic music to the West, and a large part of the success of Carnatic music in the West is the credit goes to John McLaughlin of Shakti, and later Zakir Hussain. The list is endless. I think definitely there are some key elements that make it possible for Hindustani music to be a lot more collaborative with Western harmony. One being that Hindustani music definitely comparatively uses a lot more Shuddha Swaras. Of course, they have their own beautiful gamakas, means, but it also utilizes a lot more Shuddha Swaras, which makes it more compatible to combine with harmonies and chords. Whereas comparatively, Carnatic music uses a lot more gamakas, specific gamakas, and more vigorous gamakas. For example, the Kampita gamaka. It uses takes a lot of anyaswaras or microtones, which make it a little more difficult and technically difficult to combine with jazz music or chords, harmony. But I think that's where the creativity of an artist lies, and it has been a personal goal for me to see that it is an uncharted territory. Carnatic music being combining Carnatic music with Western harmony elegantly and aesthetically, and I see immense potential and scope for that. For to see a traditional, more difficult raga like Mukhari or a Bhairavi or a Thodi in Carnatic music to find its place within the realm of Western harmony. We see, of course, many examples like Bhimpalas, Abheri or Charukeshi or Gauri Manohari or Kiravani. They have so many parallels in Western music, so that makes it possible for the compatibility. But I think Carnatic music has a lot of potential and scope, and that's something I'm definitely working towards.
Excellent work. I've heard some of your music, and each one is better than the other.
Thank you.
How did you think about this concept, though, to let's say work on a fusion?
I think definitely one must first of all have that affection and affinity towards all forms of music. And it requires a understanding and working of both of these forms, because it is very different in style, distinct in style. For example, Carnatic music could be viewed as, Indian music in general could be viewed as linear or horizontal. That's how we would view it, like a linear melodic music. Whereas Western music is more harmonic or vertical, vertical music. So if once you start understanding the working of this music and you develop a taste and a sound for what you want to create out of this, for me, for example, I would think of a melody. I would think of a beautiful melody in a particular raga, and it would strike to me, and then I would start developing that into a melody with a lot more intricacy, develop a little more variation, theme and variation to it, add a second line of melody. I think a melody is the crux of a composition. Then later I would arrange that particular composition with harmony or a groove that would sound very nice on it. And I think that intuitiveness is where composition takes birth. And I'm very grateful to be able to enjoy and appreciate both Carnatic music, think of melodies, and also be able to embellish it with harmonies, Western harmonies.
Wonderful. As you were just mentioning, that a simple composition can be a fundamental structure of going into exploring and keeping that as a base, working on it, adding layers to it, and that's how something new and innovative comes to form. And I guess that also led to your discovery of the instrument that you have invented, Navtar.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
let's hear about Navtar and how it all began, the idea for your invention. And of course, there's a lot to the instrument, how it has the capability of combining both forms of music. So if you could tell our viewers about the instrument and how you make your music on it.
Sure. So, like we were discussing, all of these factors were the driving force that led to the birth of the Navtar. And as the name suggests, Navtar is a 9-string instrument. And the USP, or the unique aspect about this instrument, is that it's the only instrument in the world that combines a fretless element along with a fretted element into a single neck or a fretboard. We see instruments that are only fretted, like a guitar or a sitar or a veena or
Sitar.
mandolin, etc. And we see instruments that are purely fretless, like a sarod or a cello or a violin. It struck me as to why haven't there been any instruments that combine these these two elements for a very unique sound. It could really give birth to a new sound. And for me, I realized that having played guitar for a long time, I realized that apart from being, even though it is so versatile, it has its limitations. Fretted instruments being equally tempered, it has its limitations in producing the gamakas or the means or the access to the 22 shrutis that is so imperative for Carnatic or Hindustani or Indian classical music in general. So overcoming this was achieved through removing the frets, making the guitar a fretless aspect. But I also wanted to be able to play my Western music in compositions and harmonies, right? And it was getting very cumbersome to carry multiple instruments to a concert, or it's not practical or efficient to keep switching instruments between songs for a desired effect. And I think that was the moment where I realized that this is a great idea where you can combine multiple instruments, multiple sounds and genres into a single instrument. And
How wonderful.
having a fretless and a fretted component to this makes it truly a unique sound, something and that provides many possibilities and has a lot more scope and potential to grow. And I'm very excited to keep continuing to make music with the Navtar.
I'm sure. If we could actually take a look at the instrument and if you could show our viewers what it looks like, that would be
Sure.
great.
So this is the prototype of the Navtar. This is the first one. It looks
Okay.
like a
Oh,
guitar on the outset.
yeah.
Looks
Yeah.
like a guitar on the outset. As you see, it has a lot of it. It's a much bigger instrument. It has a much wider neck, allowing for 9 strings, and a clear demarcation of the fretted and the fretless the components. And the fretless component also has a unique sitar jawari bridge, which provides it with a very authentic or a distinct sound that you will hear. And this is the prototype. I'm having another one customized and built. So that is expected shortly. So that's enough time.
Great. Wonderful. The culmination of all of your hard work and your passion coming together with an innovation like this, I guess that is a priceless experience for anybody. And I guess for every artist, you yearn to experience a new genre through your passion and an idea that takes you from creation through execution, but that would also come with triumphal moments. At the same time, several moments of frustration. You have something in your mind, it just doesn't quite work to how you want it to work. So share some of your experiences when you were building the instruments, your good moments and your not so great moments.
Sure, I agree with what you said. That I think every artist yearns for a new experience or a new moment of truth with the music, so to speak. And I believe that the hallmark of any great artist is ultimately to leave a legacy, and
Correct.
not necessarily in terms of popularity or success, but really in terms of originality and the profoundness of the body of work that they leave behind that impacts artists around them and audiences around them. That being said, I think I read a beautiful quote somewhere that says, "You can be one in a million, or you can be one in a million." Right? I think that is so true. That's very true. It's very important as artists. I think as an artist community that we we become more thinking artists, more thinking musicians, rather than passive recreators of or recreators of art. And there are of course many challenges to this process that I've personally undergone. One is that the fact that you play guitar. I've played guitar for all my life, and when you say you're playing Indian classical music or Carnatic music, the traditionalists or the purists will look down on you. Similarly, if you're an Indian
Exactly.
playing Western music to a Western audience, there's a purist who look down upon you. And then if
Exactly.
you create your own music that okay, you say is world music or fusion music, both audiences frown upon you. Right?
You make such a good point. Yes.
Yeah, so it's definitely a challenge to present yourself and your art. I think the biggest challenge for me is creating something that I feel is that I believe in and staying true to it. I think that is the most challenging aspect to it. And the greatest triumph, I would say, is when you overcome that and you build that intimacy with your art. You overcome that those stereotypes and opinions and the criticism, that will all come and go. But if you're honest and open and you've accepted your art and you stand by it, and you have those moments where you lose track of time, and you are at that moment one with that the music and the note, the swara that you're producing, I think that is the greatest triumph an artist can have.
How well said, and this can be a great education for people watching, for people who are pursuing music. When you talked both the things you illustrated so beautifully, actually, when people look down upon you, and it is that just is a very human nature to be judgmental of somebody trying
Especially
something
now,
new and
especially I
different.
think, especially in today's world, it's very, very difficult to, if you're to cut it if you're trying something new. Unless you're really good, it takes time. You need to, for example, there are very few. U. Srinivas was a pioneer, and
Yes.
the other thing, like I was mentioning, is the ability to carve a niche for oneself and have a unique voice. You know, a lot of times I see people say, "Wow, he's playing like U. Srinivas," or "He plays just like Ravi Shankar," or the sound is just like Hari Prasad Chaurasya. He's another Hari Prasad Chaurasya. I don't know if that's a compliment. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel that
Yes.
just as how no two people are alike, nor should their music be.
Yes.
And that is
Yeah.
another challenge that I personally am trying to overcome. And yeah.
What has carried you so far is going to carry you through too. And I really love when you said you have to believe in yourself, you have to keep going after something. And when you feel something is right for you and your heart is set on it, regardless of what happens, you just go after it. And one day it's going to find its place, just like Navtar is starting to make waves now. So I'm really glad that you're
Yeah, thank you,
pursuing and
Deepaji.
following your passion.
Yeah, thank you.
And I guess for an artist too, there are some things that one has to be really. There are some things that you have to be. These are your integral part of being an artist. So, what, according to you, is one such thing where, with all the distractions going around, with so many things one can actually explore, and mind kind of travels in so many variety of places where, for somebody who has a great aptitude like yourself, there is just not one thing that you may want to do. You may want to explore so many different things. So, how do you recenter yourself and let's say that this is my goal, this is my destination, this is the one that I'm going to go after, something that's really integral to you?
I think this is a subject that has been debated and a lot by artists alike. I think one definitely, undoubtedly, is that perseverance and of practice. I think there is no substitute to practice in developing and carrying forward your art, to develop your technical expertise, to take forward your musical or artistic capabilities. There's no substitute. That you need to be at it every day, and not that you sometimes you may need to cultivate it even if you're not feeling motivated. There are times where I'm absolutely not motivated, but to make sure that you're cultivated into that regimen and you're at it no matter what. I think it is extremely imperative that artists are driven to do their art on a daily basis no matter what. That is one thing. Second, I do feel the most important aspect is an acceptance and honesty about your art. Not doing your art or as an imitation, but it needs to come from some place very honest and genuine. Because unless you're this entire process, you're discovering yourself, you're discovering music, right? And a lot of people, if you have not discovered yourself, you will not know where the destination. You have no clear path ahead of you. So I think if you have discovered your purpose, or you've accepted your art in a very honest way, and you stand by it, I think your path is very clear set. And I think daily it just becomes a very beautiful journey where you're chipping away, discovering new things, sharing new things, and that's, I think, the most important aspect for an artist's journey.
How fortunate it is for people that have found that calling, right? Because once you get into that beautiful place in your mind, I think in layers things start to build, and each thing that you add on becomes more beautiful than the other, and together it would make some great music. So that is really very nice. And I have also heard about your outreach programs through your music. You touch many people's lives, and you have performed for a lot of good social causes. And it's a wonderful thing, actually, because music has that magic. It is a healing. It has a healing touch to it. It automatically calms people down, and it gives you a place to introspect. So, tell us a little bit about the outreach programs that you have worked on, and the difference your music has made in this category.
Well, I don't know how much of a difference that is for people to decide, but I've definitely been fortunate to have been part of some very, very pure, wonderful causes, and I think which have been very important in their time. Uh, I can remember a few concerts that I've done for in support of causes. For example, the tsunami victims, 2004, that was organized by Prakriti Foundation in Chennai. Also, the education and empowerment of women and fishermen community in the Uru Rolcott Kuppam festival, that was organized by T.M. Krishna and our team there in Chennai. Um, the Justice Rocks program, that was in solidarity of the victims of Kodaikanal mercury poisoning, who never really got their justice. It was the justice due to them by corporates, and this was another major festival in solidarity with them. I also did a, a continuous program and interaction with children at the Cancer Institute, Chennai. And that was for about I don't know, 4 5 months if I'm not wrong, and that was really quite wonderful and revealing and educational even for me, just to be there and see what share my music with them. So apart from these performances and programs, I'm also the director of Ambalam, which is the world's first
Okay.
online college for Indian performing arts, for
Oh,
Carnatic
wow.
music, Bharatanatyam, yoga, and personality development. Um, these Ambalam was an organization founded by my parents, Guru T.V. Ram Prasad and Indira Kadambi. This was almost 35 years back. So we launched into the e-learning world in 2010, where it was still ahead of its time, and it basically incorporates a blended e-learning ecosystem where you would have a lot of content, video downloads, high quality video downloads, audio notation, etc. And that combined with weekly lessons with a teacher. So that form worked very well for a long time. And E-Ambalam also has another wing called the Life Art Education Program, where we took Carnatic music for the first time. We integrated Carnatic music, Bharatanatyam, yoga, and personality development. It was a pioneering K-12 life skills program for schools in
Okay.
rural and urban
Very nice.
schools in Chennai and Tamil Nadu. So I was fortunate to teach at three of these schools and interacting with kids aged between 5 to 17. And that was really a wonderful experience. I did this for almost 3 years, teaching them music, assessing them, evaluating, providing feedback, meetings with parents. And I grew to see how much music could actually have an impact on kids, not just for the sake of having passed an examination or not the usual,
No.
but the fact that these kids really looked forward to music classes. They would wait for it. It was not another chore or routine for them, but they would really look forward to music classes. We would write our own songs together based on a theme for Earth Day, for on a particular theme, and that was a very very wonderful experience. And I think both myself and the kids took something back from that. So that's a little bit about what I do, sharing with my art.
A lot of things actually. And like you just said, for children, they don't know what is happening, but somewhere it's touching their soul and it becomes
Absolutely.
such an integral part of them.
It really
And
has.
I
I'm so
guess,
sorry to interrupt. It really
oh, not at
transforms
all.
because there were kids from multiple backgrounds, right? Were underprivileged backgrounds as well as the kids from CEOs. So it was a really diverse backgrounds that they came from, and I was really it was gratifying to see that some of them were actually considering taking up music or exploring music as a career path through counseling and whatever it is.
Yeah.
So it's amazing that at least the mind has opened up. They are thinking outside the box through music, dance. So
More and more culturally things are improving, and this is going into mainstream where people can actually think about it as taking it up as a career, and that is such a wonderful thing, which was not the case so much earlier. But I
yeah,
guess with all of these initiatives that you're all a part of, and I guess this also becomes a huge dimension of your personality, or your music gets its all-roundedness by interaction with different people and exposing yourself to different experiences like such, which is very evident in what you play. So that is really great. After having invented a phenomenal instrument like this, what are your plans of furthering this, Vishnu? How would
I
how
think it's
how do you
just
think
a
is the best way?
it's a journey. It's just a journey ahead. There's so much of potential and scope to grow with this. It's actually full of surprises, and I'm excited by it. I'm currently working on a lot of new music. This entire pandemic has given me so much of time and bandwidth to just cut myself off from the world and just focus on my music. And I'm working on a lot of new music composition for the Navtar, and I hope I will come out with an album shortly. A lot of performances for it. In terms of furthering the Navtar, I definitely would love to see the Navtar go into the hands of interested and keen musicians and students. I've already got so many inquiries from curious musician friends, etc., about it, and unfortunately, this is the only one right now. But in the future, after having probably creating a course or a module for learning the Navtar, or having or creating a course for understanding Indian music for Western musicians. So I think all of this will help bring together this entire concept, and people will start recognizing Navtar more, and hopefully we'll see more Navtar players in the future.
Wouldn't that be really great? And you do bring up a good point when you say that when COVID hit all of us, since we were really not going anywhere, we were not doing the normal things that we did, gave us a lot of time to recenter and look within and come up with something that was very important to us. And I guess the music that has come from that experience will be really wonderful, and we are looking forward to listening to the new music that you have created.
Thank you.
I have to ask you this one question before I let you go, and I always do. Uh, in your whole journey through this experience, there will be something that is very close to your heart, and that would come with an experience, and that would come with, uh, let's say, putting a lot of things together. So, talk about one such music that is really close to your heart. It could be your composition, or it could be something that has inspired you. Uh, Anything of that nature, please.
In terms of music, I think a composition, let's go from there. A composition that is quite dear to me that comes to my mind is Moksha. Uh, and this particular piece was the first piece that I wrote, and that came from a kind of a freedom from having to think about genres or categorizing genres. It was Indian based melody that inspired some arrangements, chord progressions, etc. And over the years, I've played it so much, and it has taken shape in. It comes from a very inspired place, and I think that reflects in the fact that a lot of musicians and friends and audiences also resonate with that particular piece a lot. So Moksha is a very dear piece to me that I've composed. And apart from a piece of music, I think I take a lot of inspiration from the background that I grew up in. Growing up in the school, Krishnamurti Foundation of India. I think
Absolutely.
Jiddu Krishnamurti and his way of thinking, or I would not want to use the word spiritual, but definitely understanding oneself, reflecting on oneself, and I take a lot of inspiration from people who think along certain lines, the similar lines, and imbibing from them, growing from those experiences. I think that reflects in music a lot, and that also was one of the main inspirations for me to do my chilla for the second time, which is a 41-day
Yes.
musical retreat where I
Tell us
isolated.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a personal journey, but I think it's important for a lot of artists to think along those lines. So I will share. It was a 41-day musical tapas, so to speak, where I cut myself off from the outside world. I was isolated completely. I was in my room. There was no human contact, no physical contact, no eye contact, and I was in silence, Maunavrata, for 41 days. And the only person who I interacted with was my guru, my father. And we would also communicate
Okay.
purely on musical terms. Even food was only placed outside my door. So I did not come out of my room for 41 days, and my only friends and listeners and empathizers were the birds, the rain, my music and
Nature.
nature. Absolutely. So I was in my room practicing music for up to 16 hours a day on a daily basis.
Wow.
So my day would start at
Wow.
5 a.m. I would do yoga, do my yoga, pranayama, meditation, and I would start 6 to 9 would be one session of practice followed by breakfast. 10 to 1 would be another session of practice where I would sit with my father and we would just work on Manodharma and the various Ragam, Thanam, Pallavi aspects of Carnatic
Wow.
music. Then I would keep 2 to 5 to compose or creatively practice something or improvise, compose something, arrange something. 5 to 8 I would keep for Western classical music practice. So this entire experience was, I think, one of the most enriching and empowering experiences. I think
Wow.
everyone must have some time during their lifetime, and it really leaves you with a sense of humility and awe at life and gratitude, lot of gratitude.
Wow. As you're saying these things, I'm thinking what a beautiful place it must be in your head. So, first of all, humility is art is nothing when the artist does not portray it with humility, and that has something that has to come really from within. And gratitude, I guess one always wants something new, something which is good, but at the same time to be thankful for what you have, and contentment. And when you just take a moment, take a deep breath, and look around you and be thankful for everything that you have, that is a great place to go from there.
Absolutely.
So all of these things are really very important, regardless of what you do. Whether you're into music or your career, your profession, these things are important for any human being. But I'm really, really intrigued about, now you talked about a good regimen of, you wake up at 5 in the morning, and then you take certain time to do yoga and compose and practice. So, in between all of this, what was going through your mind at that time? I mean, see, this is very different. Like, you put yourself in that strict capsule where this is, you know what you're going after, and you know that this is going to make some difference to your mind. But with each day progressing, how was it? Was it a little bit? Sometimes was it frustrating, and sometimes. Like having those beautiful moments in your mind, you're like, okay, this is why I did it, and this is phenomenal. I did not even think this is going to happen, but your mind is in such a beautiful place.
Absolutely. I think there are many instances, of course, where you read about musicians or artists who try something like this. It's also common in Vipassana, where unless your mind is prepared for it fully, there are instances where things go wrong. You can lose your sense of stability, and but I think if you are driven and of a certain temperament, it can be a phenomenally beautiful thing. For me, my body got into such a fine, delicate balance, a sense of rhythm where I knew exactly what my day was for. I was thankful for it, and I just went for it. Just played my music. Every day I was getting better. I was thankful for that, discovering new things, and your mind becomes very, very, like I said, there's a balance, a very fine balance that sets in, and there's a sense of tranquility that you find in that rhythm, in that balance, which is so important. That silence is where ultimately the music comes from, and if like as we are today, if we are continuously bombarded with noise in so many ways, information, social media.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
if I mean, in that sense, of course, we see such great artists. There's no doubt, but I think something special can come only when there is a space of silence and tranquility in one's mind, and that's where sound and music is
Recently.
born.
Correct. And it's almost like adding a filter to white noise and only letting the good things come into your system.
Yeah.
That is really great. And a small takeaway from this for all of us is that even if, let's say, we are not able to go through a penance of that long, but something to think about, to recenter yourself, think about things that are going through your mind, and identify what is important to you, and let the good thoughts get into your mind, and let all the other disturbances just fizzle out, so that would make such an effect and such an impact on everybody's mind. And I'm so grateful that you are able to come and share all of these wonderful
Thank you,
experiences with us
Deepaji.
here at the
Thank you,
Raga Room.
Deepaji, for having me. It's a pleasure.
Same here. And before we let you go, I want to play to our viewers your composition Moksha. I know it is ringing in my mind since the time I've heard it, and I'm sure that's going to happen to everybody that is going to listen to it. And the melodic progression of it, and the bhava that you have brought into that music is just absolutely wonderful, Vishnu. And I hope we continue to hear such great music from you going forward. And again, I thank you so much for coming to the Raga Room, and it has been an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Same, Deepaji. Your hats off for the phenomenal work you're doing through the Raga Room. When I saw the content and the what you're curating, it really, really stands out in what we've been seeing. The quality of work, the artists that you're bringing in. It's really a lot of work and commitment, and I really, really have to applaud you for that.
At the end, it's all music, and that's what
It's
brings
all
peace
music.
to our mind,
That's
isn't
it.
it? Thank you so much,
Thank you.
and we
Thank
wish
you
you
so
all the
much.
best in all your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Have a
Thank you
wonderful
so
day.
much. Thank you so much, Deepaji.
Dear viewers, what a wonderful performance, isn't it? Brought the best of the bhava. From centuries, music has traveled continents, but at the end of it, at the core of it, what one feels is what music is. We sincerely hope you enjoyed this episode just as much as we did bringing it to you. We hope to see you soon again at the Raaga Room, where the soul listens as notes speak. Thank you and see you soon. Have a wonderful day.
ah